What's going on, and welcome into this edition of Card Central 365, powered by Gray Bar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. And of course, the content on STL Sports Central is presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. I'm Brenden Schaeffer, along with Ethan Hannaford. Ethan, to be meeting under these circumstances is not our preference, but the Cardinals have lost 6 in a row. And it just doesn't feel like it's about to get any easier either, with Jose Quintana, old friend, on the mound today for Milwaukee as the Cardinals look to snap the skid. But what the heck is going on right now with the Cardinals? How has this 6-game losing streak in your eyes come to fruition? And is it in a way that makes you feel like, all right, little fluky, they can bounce back, or do you have real concerns here?
Well, first off, Brenden, it's always good to see you, my friend. And, I think it's a little bit of both, right? I think that you can simultaneously recognize that this is a young team. You're bound to go through ebbs and flows with some of these guys as they adjust to the major league level. If you thought that the success that you saw from so many of those young guys in the month of May was going to be just what the rest of the year was going to be like, then the picture was painted wrong for you, right? This is part of Major League Baseball. This is part of professional sports, is adjusting to this level of play consistently. So I understand where there are some concerns with some of the stuff that you are seeing, but in large part, I think that this is kind of what 2025 has been advertised as all along. The whole message was going into the year was, we're excited about what we have, at least from Ollie Marmol, was we're really excited about what we have. But it's also there's a lot of youth on this club, and I think that something that has been pretty telling, right, has been specifically the manager's consistency in how he has viewed this team, right, through the highs and through the lows. It's been pretty consistent. It's not like this guy's going out and saying that this is a World Series contender, this is what we are, like when they're at their highest of highs. But when he's at their lowest of lows, he's not dogging on these guys. He's not pounding on these guys to the floor, which is what some of the fan base is doing right now. I get the frustration, right? But that's kind of what, to a certain extent, like, I think goes to play when you have such a young team. You're going to have to work through some of those growing pains. I think the biggest difference between this year and years past, right, is that you're starting to truly see the cornerstone of the team get built. When it's refreshing to see them say, hey, we're gonna move towards youth and younger guys in 2025, and seeing those guys actually show that they are capable of being the future of this club. That is encouraging, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be smooth sailing all the time. And right now, let's be straight up. The people have been talking about the month of June now for a little while as a month that could be challenging for the Cardinals because of the lack of rest days, the amount of competition that they're facing. And if one guy goes down, then you're in a really tough spot as far as the rotation goes. Now, fortunately, they haven't had anyone go down in the starting rotation. Well, they have had guys go down as of recent is in the lineup. And now all of a sudden you're realizing the lack of depth that there is in the lineup with Jordan Walker going down, with Brendan Donovan down right now. You look at the lineup today and you're saying, yikes, you got a lefty and Jose Quintana on the mound, and you're probably going to have to put more lefties in the lineup than you would want to if you're Ollie Marmol.
Yeah, it's a left-handed heavy team, which at its full strength, I don't really mind, because I felt like you had enough righties to be able to at least balance 5 and 4 in a general lineup. But right now, you mentioned it with the couple of injuries that they have, and Walker's on the IL coming back soon. Second game, they kind of had like a game and a half that they played in Memphis yesterday after some rain the day before. Walker was 3 for 4 in the second game as a DH. So the bat's coming around. Think he'll be ready to rock here pretty soon. But you're right. I mean, when you lose Donovan for just an indeterminate amount of time, the report from Derek Gould yesterday is they're going to give him till Tuesday. So if they end up sticking with that, you could have played maybe 4 games without Brendan Donovan, just hoping that he could be ready. And hopefully it pays off and he is ready and they don't have to then IL him and miss him for another week. But that's a guy that I think his presence is certainly missed right now in the Cardinal lineup, when a lot of these other guys are not performing at the same time. And of course, everybody wants to talk right now about Lars Nootbaar, and for good reason. Last 5 games, he's over 23 with 13 strikeouts. I mean, this is as bad of a slump as you're ever going to find for any player. He's not the first player to ever slump like that in Major League history, but it's happening to him right now, and he has been entrenched as the Cardinal leadoff hitter. Reporting from Milwaukee last night suggesting that will not be the case today that there will be a change atop the Cardinal order, which makes some sense with the lefty on the mound. Mason Wynn certainly could be a candidate for that. We'll see what it ends up looking like when the Cardinal lineup comes out today. Do you have any preferences there, though, Ethan? Like, to me, it's very clear. Nootbaar has to be moved down. No, we don't have to make some of the claims that I've had Cardinals fans making to me on social media over the last day or so, that Nootbaar's never been good and this is just who he is. No, the numbers are very simply going to dispute that if you look at them. If you cover your head in the sand and la 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 in your ears, then sure, the numbers can say whatever you want to because facts don't matter. But Lars Nootbaar has been a 10 to 11 to 12% better than league average hitter over the course of his career. This year, he's not, largely because he has been as bad as you could be for about a week or so, and he's going to have to come out of that, and he can't continue to lead off during it. But who would your preference be right now as far as the lineup game for Ollie Marmol? What would you like to see him do with this thing?
And the stretch does go on a little bit more than a week for Nootbaar, right? When you look at the struggles, they honestly, like the struggles you could go back to as far as 30 to 35 games but it is bottomed out, right, where you're looking at rock bottom right now in this stretch. As you mentioned, 0 for last 23, I think 1 for last 32, and has struck out 45% of the time in there. I don't know if there is a very clear cut answer. We know that Ollie Marmol tends to be patient in going about making significant changes, whether it be to the lineup or to the bullpen. And that's why one of the reasons perhaps that we've seen Nootbaar stick in that leadoff spot as long as he has. Maybe the other reason, right, is there isn't necessarily an amazing candidate for that leadoff spot outside of him right now, even in his struggles. I mean, when you look at guys that seem like they would make sense profile-wise for the leadoff spot, who are they that you could make an argument for at least? The top three, in my opinion, right, are Lars Nootbaar, Victor Scott because of his speed, and Mason Wynn probably because of his ability, that the way he's been hitting at the top of the lineup. Well, you could also come up with pretty easy arguments against Victor Scott and Mason Wynn right now too. For Victor Scott, the argument against, right, is this a guy that just a couple of days ago ended an 0 for 21 streak or whatever it was. The book is out on him right now in the sense that off-speed pitching is really getting the best of him. So this is a guy that is continuing to learn and adapt and adjust to the league as well. We have to remember how early he is in his major league career. So I don't know if it makes sense to give the high-pressured at-bats to him right now as he continues to work through his own things. For Mason Wynn, this is a guy obviously that has taken huge steps from year 1 to year 2 in his ability to take high-quality at-bats. But it wasn't that long ago that Mason Wynn was the leadoff guy for the Cardinals in 2024, and he didn't do very well in that spot. Like I said, he's taken some big steps in his career. I think he's a much better hitter overall this year than he was last year, which is super encouraging that we haven't necessarily seen a sophomore slump from him up to this point. So Mason Wynn, you could make arguments for. You could also make arguments against. Right now, to answer Chewy's question, at least today, with a left-handed pitcher on the mound, I'm rolling with Mason Wynn just to try and keep the righty-lefty mix consistent there. I don't know if there's anyone that I'm saying, yeah, he's the guy that needs to be at the top of the order. So for today, at least, it's Mason Wynn. Perhaps we're having a different conversation once Brendan Donovan gets back just because of his ability to get on base, his high contact rate. He's a guy I could see the Cardinals mixing in there as well. But for today, at least, with a lefty on the mound, I'm going with Mason Wynn in the leadoff spot personally.
And I think Ollie Marmol probably will as well. But to your point, which you're acknowledging all of these kind of cons to some of these answers. Mason Wynn's 4 for his last 27 over his past 6 games. He's hitting 148. And by the way, I agree with you that I've seen a better version of Mason Wynn consistently in 25 than I did in 24. He has a lower OPS this year than he did last year. I'm just he is slumping hard recently as well. Not all too dissimilar from Lars Nootbaar. The difference being just the sheer volume of strikeouts for Nootbaar tells you he's not even close. He has no clue up at the plate right now, and that's just the fact of the matter. Mason Wynn's at least giving you some better ABs. He'll be the guy that I imagine will be up there at leadoff. Lefty on the mound today, this isn't applicable. I've seen Alec Burleson take good ABs. I'm not afraid of doing anything off the wall. I'll throw him up there if I have to. They got to get somebody setting the damn tone because you can't have, a guy going up there 5 times and striking out 4 times, and that's your leadoff guy. He took a 5th AB yesterday, was the only Cardinal to do so, right? Because he ended the game. So that stuff matters. I would have loved to have had an Alec Burleson, up there, trying to make some contact in that spot. So he's not fast. He's not your prototypical leadoff guy. But my point is, when you have the number of questions you do, like people would say, hey, Victor Scott should be the guy because of his speed and when he gets on base, he can really make things happen
when he gets on base.
But his OPS, I mean, people look. I love Victor Scott. I think he should continue to play. Spell him with Ciani on days where he just maybe needs a mental rest day. But his OPS is 650,
and it's like 350 since May 20th, I think.
Yeah, so you could look at the recency of it, and it's an even bigger argument. People want to burn Pedro Pages at the stake because he's got a 600 OPS, even though he plays really good catcher defense. And it's like, what? Let's be consistent with our arguments. If we don't like the production from one guy, but the numbers are pretty much the same as this other guy, what are we doing by just kind of picking and choosing where we get upset about things? It's tricky right now for Ollie Marmol, and I think that's the point of why he hasn't made the change till now. I'm not saying that was right. I think there was a point a couple days ago where you could have looked at Nootbaar and said, okay, we got to do something with this, because it's not just maybe going to happen magically. And Ollie has so much faith in his players and wants to see guys kind of work themselves out of it. But right now, Nootbaar's trying to swing himself out of it, and that's not his game. He has to find that plate discipline, yes. And I think he's chasing his tail a little bit right now. So makes all the sense in the world to make a move. I agree with you regarding Mason Wynn being the guy for the time being, at least for today. And then, God willing, you get Brendan Donovan back at some point this weekend, if not at least by Tuesday, because if you've gone that long, almost a week, where you could have had him on the IL, it's just, I don't know. I'm still, the toe is weird. I said from the very moment that they explained that toe injury to us that it wasn't something that happened in that very game. It was something that was kind of increasing over the days in front of that moment where he just couldn't bear it anymore. I said, that's not good. I'd rather it be, he got hit by a pitch or, fouled one off, something like that. And that's not what it was. So we'll see for Brendan Donovan. They really do miss him. Some conversations here in the comments section. Victor Scott, according to Rates and Barrels, is in the bottom third in bat speed. Yeah, and I think some of that could be Ethan, a guy, that is feeling himself slumping. And so you try to slow down the bat speed in order to make contact. Ollie talked with us about that concept with Nolan Gorman the other week, where you could see in the data for a while his bat speed really slowed down because he was trying to avoid swing and miss. And then once you feel good with your swing again, you can start to increase that and swing a little bit harder. And then he found the home run against Chris Bassett of the Blue Jays, and that was sort of the natural progression for that. Not a huge home run guy anyway with Mason Wynn, but certainly, with Victor Scott, but certainly you do want to see, you just want to see the contact and these guys giving themselves a chance right now, Ethan. And that there just hasn't been enough of that up and down the lineup. This was a lineup that at a certain point in the year we said, hey, 1 through 9, you feel really good about. Right now, I don't know that. I mean, you're just looking for pockets where you might be able to get lucky. That's the way it feels.
Yeah, right now the lineup seems really thin. When you look, and just about everyone is slumping right now or has cooled off significantly. And you prefer, right, where you, like you said, you have windows and pockets to where, okay, these couple of guys are struggling so they can get carried by these guys that are feeling it right now at the plate, right? Yeah, the hope is that offsets. We saw rather so a month of May where everyone was up here, feeling it. And now we're seeing an early part of June where everyone is down here and is trying to make those adjustments and work on those cuts. So, it'll be interesting to see how exactly they go about, working through some of those issues. I'm going to be interested. And here's a part that I think is tough, right? You said that for a guy like Nootbaar, it can't be, swinging out of a slump like this. It has to be the plate discipline. Here's the thing is in a time like this, maybe it's not the worst thing to say, like, man, I'd love to give Lars Nootbaar a day or two off to just whether be clear his mind or be able to put some work in behind the scenes. The Cardinals have no luxury of doing that right now. And honestly, when you look at the lineup, it would not be the craziest thing in the world if we look today and Lars Nootbaar was batting 5th. Like, I mean, it wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world. If you want to keep the righty-lefty mix and you want Nolan Arenado to stay in the 6th spot, it would not be the craziest thing in the world to see Lars Nootbaar batting 5th. And that is in large part, right, because if you don't have Brendan Donovan back, if you move Burley up, then it just goes to show right now how thin that lineup is because of the injuries and the amount of struggling that you have going on in there right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to think through because the only reason I think Newbar might not be fifth is because if you have the righty leading off with Mason Wynn, the
So
maybe they.
here's what
I
I
guess
have.
it could be back to back righties at 3 and 4, perhaps like
Correct, because it's going to
Herrera,
be Contreras
Contreras.
and Herrera.
Yep, Burley
So if you
too.
don't want 3, 4, 5 with another righty and Arenado
Yep,
batting fifth, then you have to put Nootbaar at 5, unless you're confident in Nolan Gorman, which against the
Gorman.
lefty I'm not. So you have.
Right,
I feel
correct.
like you wouldn't be crazy to see Lars Nootbaar batting fifth today,
I
unless
think
you put Burles in there.
you're going to see some righties in the lineup that don't play. Like is Barrero starting somewhere today just
Would
because
not
of the
surprise
matchup?
me. Wouldn't surprise
Yeah,
me.
I mean that's possible, but I would throw Burley up at number 2. What do you think, Herrera or Contreras? Who goes first in that
Contreras.
3-4?
Well, they've had Contreras before Herrera up to this point this year. I still think they view Contreras as the better hitter. So I think they probably put him in the 3
Yeah,
spot.
what was it yesterday though? I feel like it was different yesterday. I'm trying to.
Yes. I think it was the same at the top. The top 6 was the same, was it not? Burley
Let me
was
look here.
5.
Herrera was ahead. Yeah, Herrera was 3, Contreras 4.
Oh, was
And
he? Okay, gotcha. I
and
missed that then.
Burley
Okay.
5. So I
Okay.
could see them going Wynn, Burley, Herrera, Contreras.
Yep.
Kind of agree with your take on Nootbaar potentially. Could be fifth. And then, with a lefty on the mound, Pajes will probably catch again, or Pozo, to just have another righty in there.
But
And
they'll be in
maybe
the 8 spot, right?
yeah, and so I guess Gorman probably slots in 7th. And so it is still, I just maybe like again, I don't. That's part of this conversation though. Is the Barrero thing? Is like, where do you put him defensively that you're not kind of cringing? I hate to like put a guy down because I think he does enough things adequately that it's like he can be a baseball player at the highest level. But for this Cardinals team, when you look at actually making that decision to put him into the lineup, it's like, is he going to be better at the plate in this matchup, even as a righty, than this guy? Or is he going to be better in the field, or are you going to be sacrificing something defensively? Because I don't think he's a great fit hardly anywhere defensively. He's just a little bit mediocre at every defensive spot, which is like, can do a lot of things okay, but where does that provide you your upside when you're trying to find a reason to get a guy into a lineup?
Today, the only guy that he's in there for is Nootbaar, right? I mean, that's the only guy. If they're giving a guy a day off, they're moving him down in the lineup. He's not going to be in there for Burleson, who's swinging a red-hot bat right now. Maybe Gorman, but I mean, I think I like the cuts that Gorman's taking right now.
Yeah, I want to see Gorman in there. You know what you could do, though, is just say, don't really care if we're stacking a bunch of righties in a row because you've got a bunch of lefty relievers in that Milwaukee bullpen. Just dare them with Herrera, Contreras, Arenado, 3, 4, 5 if you want to. Like, I don't know if he'll do that, but if you're that would be a circumstance if you have a just straight day off for Nootbaar. You could do that, and then like Gorman could be maybe 6th and have Barrero, Pajes, Scott, or Barrero, Pajes, Ciani, whatever you're doing, off the rest of the way to get one more righty in there. Maybe it's Pozo that's in there as a catcher. We'll see what that looks like. Andre Pallante on the mound today. That's the other part of this. We spent so much time talking about the offense that we're still kind of in a stretch where the pitching has come back down to earth to an extent. And like Fedde gave you just a fine outing yesterday, 5 1/3, 3 runs. If Pallante did the same thing today, I would say, yep, that's about what this rotation is billed to give you. But when you're only putting up no runs or 2 runs in a game like they have so far over this Brewers series, it's kind of incumbent upon either the starters to do more than what they're supposed to, or the lineup to do basically what they're supposed to. But right now we're not seeing it from them. So it's hard to expect the lineup to suddenly put up a 5 spot against Quintana.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at yesterday's game overall, and I said, this was a pretty good, well-played baseball game in large part. The part that sucks is you say that right now and you get chastised because, and I understand in the sense that you have 5 games prior to where in large part you looked terrible. You have not looked good in large part through this 2-week stretch. So all of that is getting added on as to how you're playing right now. You out-hit the Brewers yesterday. Eric Fedde gets hit in the forearm with a 90-mile-per-hour comebacker. So it makes 5 1/3, 3 earned runs look even more impressive. 1 inning basically decided the game yesterday with a couple of bang calls. If those go the other way, who knows what we're looking at for that inning? I mean, the score could have been 1-1 and exiting that inning, and it wouldn't have been surprising at all. Couple of tough breaks. I mean, yesterday's game in general, if it comes in the month of May, absolutely nobody cares because it was a well-played baseball game. Obviously, you'd like a little more timely hitting, but when you stack on the 5 losses prior to, then all of a sudden it's the frustrations adding and the anger continuing.
Yeah, this comment from Bill regarding Newbar needs to be 7 or lower. I think it's a lot easier to do that once Donovan's back,
Yeah,
because you have
yeah.
that additional lefty that, whether it's Mason at the top or Donovan at the top, you can slot Burley in at 3 if you wanted to really go left, right, left, right. You could put, maybe there's a matchup against a right-handed starter where Gorman could easily be in that 5 range. Then it's Arenado 6 and Newbar 7. Kind of tricky today to do that. We'll see what they do. I'm not even convinced he's going to be in the lineup, especially against the lefty. What's funny is he's got good numbers against Quintana, 3 for 6 lifetime. It does Lars Newbar. So it's like he's the one lefty. He's the one guy in the lineup that's actually seen him moderately decently. I think they're going to get steamrolled today. I have to be 100% honest with you. Quintana is going to go pretty similar to the 6 innings, 1 run that we saw Freddie Peralta give up yesterday. It may not even be a run. I think they'll get 1 against Quintana, but if they're going to win this game, it's going to be like a late comeback or a late bullpen effort after Pallante goes 7 innings, 1 run and keeps it tied or something like that, where you're going to have your bullpen keep it there, and you're going to have to find a way to put runs up against their pretty good bullpen. Like, I just do not have a very good feeling about what we're going to see from the Cardinals against Quintana. It just feels like a bad matchup for them. I'm looking for this comment here real quick. The question was, I know what the question was, I just can't find it at this point. Why did they not go Brendan Donovan IL? Let's just get this out of the way. And you could have called up Thomas Saggese. And I can even go further back than that. As we talk about the need for right-handed hitters, Ethan, I could go further back than that. When the whole Ryan Vilade thing happened, if the Cardinals had a time turner and they could go back in time to the moment they called up Vilade, and instead they said, okay, we're going to face how many lefties this week? Kershaw's going to pitch and all these guys, and we're going to have how many injuries to Brendan Donovan the following week? It would have been, over the last 2 weeks, you could have had Thomas Saggese here and playing 80% of the games, and maybe the Cardinals scratch off another win or two. Maybe they don't. But what's your thoughts on, like, just get it over with already, Brendan Donovan? Because rarely do you see a team willing to play short for almost a full calendar week like they're fixing to do with Brendan Donovan here.
Hindsight is 2020. Yep. You know, I mean, it's easy to say that now, but we had no idea. If this, I mean, for all we know, like the organization could have said, like, yep, we're looking at maybe the off day and then maybe a day or two for Donovan, then we think he's good. Like, the hindsight is always 2020. It's easy to say that now, but what if you decide to do that and give him the 10-day IL, right? And then he's good after 3 days. Then you're like, oh my God, now we're without him for a whole week. Well, like, when we desperately need him right now. So I get it. I understand the question, but also it's so much easier to ask that question like now than it would have been. You know, nobody was talking about right after Brendan Donovan exited that game of saying, put him on the IL now. No one was, because they didn't think it was. Now, maybe the Cardinals had more information. Maybe they knew that it was going to be longer. If so, then I agree. But I think they would have acted if they knew that was the case.
Couple of comments I want to get to. I'm going to do this one before I tell you about DraftKings. Sam Roberts is not on the 60-day IL. I don't know the rule on this. He's not on the active roster, so I don't even know if he can go on the 60-day IL. Ethan, do you know anything about that? Because, like, from the active roster, sure, but he's on the 40-man. He's on the 7-day IL, right? Because I think that's what they have in the minors. I don't even know. If he can be 60-day, then it is weird to me that he hasn't been if he had Tommy John. But I actually don't know the rule to that, and I'll try to find that out later today. But that's just something that was on my mind. I want to answer a question about some prospects that Truth Seeker is asking about. But before I do that, I want to let you know that DraftKings Pick 6 is available now in the state of Missouri for you to be playing during the Stanley Cup Final, during the NBA Finals, and all throughout the baseball season. DraftKings Pick 6, you can download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use our code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to play $5, get $50 in Pick 6 credits. That's a pretty good deal. Better payouts, bigger wins only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
I'm going to plow through a couple of these quick comments. Damien wants to know about Walker staying in Memphis for so long, or can he come back when he's ready? I think it's already been 10 days. Remember, he had that injection. It lasted a little bit longer. I wonder, though, Ethan, if we're going to see him, like, just wait till Chicago because of just, like, the travel implications of, like, do you rush him there for today or tomorrow, or do you just get him taking his time? I personally think he looks like a guy, if he's going 3 for 4 in game 2 yesterday, I think he's ready to rock. I don't need to see more rehab from him, but the Cardinals are typically very conservative with this, and I don't know why, because you have a very clear need for a right-handed bat. You have thoughts on that about how quick they might bring Walker back? They don't have to do it like they could do it as soon as they wanted to, but what do you think they're going to do in terms of how long they'll want him to rehab?
I think, it could depend on, it's a good question. I agree that they traditionally have been conservative with these things. Maybe it depends on the well-being of Brendan Donovan, perhaps. But if we're waiting, if the cutoff for him is on Tuesday, then that doesn't really do much because then you're already to Chicago. I think it's more realistic that we don't see him until Chicago. But I do agree that it does make sense for him to be here right now from everything that we see. From the outside. But I think it is more likely that you don't see him until Chicago, unfortunately, which really sucks because the offense could use another right-handed power bat right now.
Yeah, it just seems like a guy who was not originally even going to take a rehab, and then he needed the injection, and so that meant he was going to play some games. He's played 2 games. It's like almost logistical. Like, oh, well, we got to get him there. We got to pay to get him there, to travel from Gwinnett because they're in Georgia, so we got to get him all the way up to Milwaukee, and like that shouldn't play into it for a major league organization. I would think that wherever they're sending him and whenever, it shouldn't make any difference, but I would like to think that he could be ready sooner rather than later. Tuesday, though, at least, like if they wanted to slow play it, make sure he's totally healthy, totally good, they could slow play it. And then if Donovan's legitimately not ready to go, you could just switch him ahead of Tuesday's game. So maybe that's and Donovan does eventually go to the IL. You could backdate it only like 3 days for Donovan's IL, so you'd still be without him for a while. But they're really, really, really trying to avoid Donovan going on the IL. I don't know if they're going to be successful in that. I don't have a great feeling about it. I need some help.
He did practice. He did take swings yesterday and ground balls, and he said that he felt better. So let's hope that they said that he could be playing as soon as this weekend. Yeah, let's hope that's the case.
Let's hope he's in the lineup today, and I'm wrong. I mean that'd be great. Right. He was going for the carbon insert to try to, avoid the pain factor. We'll see what it looks like. I need help, Ethan. My brain sometimes turns to mush. Who is Mike Heel? Matthews and Mike Heel need to be brought up. Do you have any idea who True Seeker is talking about? Micheal. I have no idea. I have no clue.
Quinn Matthews,
obviously. Who is Mike Heel?
No, I think it's Michael McGreevy is who he's talking about.
McGreevy. Thank you. Oh. Like I said, sometimes my brain is, and he meant Michael. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm like,
he misspelled it. Yeah.
Misspelled Michael, but I was like thinking last names. I'm like, whose last name is like close to that? Mitchell? We don't have a Mitchell on the who? He's talking about McGreevy. Okay. Here's the deal with that. McGreevy, yeah. Thank you guys. McGreevy. Hey, here's the truth. Sometimes you're doing a live broadcast, your brain turns to mush. And stuff that you should be able to figure out, you just go blank. And so I'm like, I have a co-host. I can just ask him and he will help me. And the comments did as well. All good, True Seeker. Here is the thoughts on that. McGreevy's going to come back up in like a 6 starter capacity. But once they sent him down, you have to wait 15 days to call him back up, which is fine because in a week or so, 9 or 10 days from now, he's going to be up and they're going to do the same thing they did, spot start. Then it'll be interesting. If he shoves in that spot start and somebody like Pallante is struggling, do they make a switch? I'm not going to rule that out. As far as Quinn Matthews, we got to pump the brakes a little bit. Like, I know everybody just wants to see these prospects come up. You have to think about what are you actually doing to improve the team? Are you taking Michaelis out of the rotation? Are you taking Fetty out of the rotation? If you're bringing these two guys in, obviously Pallante would be one that people probably want to see removed. I don't fully agree with that, but I understand the sentiment. But like Quinn Matthews has thrown just a few games at AAA, right? Like it's going to be some time. Quinn Matthews, I think, is going to play a really big role in 2026 for this Cardinal team. I think he'll be ready by then. His AAA ERA right now is the same as Pallante's big league ERA, 4.7. Let's take a breath. I know we love our prospects. Let's take a breath. It's not time yet for that. McGreevy, yes, it's time for. He's going to pitch again in the month of June. As soon as he is eligible to return, he's going to return and going to start. I agree he's got nothing left to prove in the minors. Let's pump the brakes a little bit on Quinn Matthews. He'll be a big part of the team. By February, we'll be singing his praises and saying he's got a shot to win a job in this rotation. But for the moment, let's pump the brakes. It could even be by August 1st that Quinn Matthews changes that narrative. Cardinals fall out of the race. They trade some guys. Quinn Matthews gets called up. That's even possible. For right now, we got to see more from him at AAA, and that's just the way it's supposed to be. It's all good. It's all good.
So there are a couple of things. First off, when you look at Tekoa Roby, who just made his first start in AAA, and Quinn Matthews, who has only made a few starts in AAA dating back to last year, there are some adjustments to AA and AAA, and they honestly say that the people say the jump from AA to AAA is bigger than AAA to the majors. Just in the consistency aspect of things.
It's a different ball, too.
That's what I was about to say. The ball is different as well, and pitchers have to adjust to that major that MLB ball that they use in AAA. And that is a lot of the reasoning as to why we're seeing, guys that have traditionally been really high accuracy rates in Tekoa Roby, Quinn Matthews are having some issues with that. So, part of that is also being patient that there are adjustments as far as just the baseball that they are making. And you're saying, well, Quinn Matthews has been up since last year. Well, you have to remember he's missed a large chunk of this year. I think he's only started two or three games this year in AAA. So we have to be patient with those guys. I know that everyone wants to see the young guys up, but there is a world, right, where it hurts them to bring them up as quickly as you want them to. So that time will come, but the time is not now. And I'll say this now. I know it's June. We've seen Michael McGreevy start one game, appear in two. We'll see another one in June. I guarantee that before the end of June, he will start again. People are ready for him. I understand it. With a starting rotation as aged as it is for the Cardinals this year, would it be a crazy thing to see someone go on the IL at some point? No.
Yeah.
It would not be surprising. So by year's end, I don't think we're having this conversation saying Michael McGreevy didn't get enough opportunities in 2025 at the major league level. I think those chances are going to come. You have to look at the grand scheme of things and say, like, well, he's not with the rotation right now. Well, by year's end, I think that conversation is going to be different, especially, if play continues at the trend that it is, then who knows what the deadline is going to look like? Who knows who's still here? But what I can say is that the strength of the Cardinals so far has been their depth and their ability to stay healthy, but that's not a guarantee for the remainder of the season. And if that's the case, if we do see the injuries at some point, that wouldn't be crazy to expect. Everyone goes through them. Michael McGreevy will get those opportunities, and that development at the major league level will occur. It's just one of those things, right, where you have to stay patient. You have to take care of the club. The Cardinals using McGreevy and the starting rotation the way they have so far is a huge reason as to why they have the record that they have and why they've had the success that they've had, but also how they've been able to stay healthy up to this point.
Totally agree with that. A couple comments here. I don't agree that they rushed Roby. I mean, he pitched in AA Springfield in parts of three different seasons, 23, 24, and now 25, and he looked the part, and it's time to get him to assimilate to the AAA
he's been
level.
Dominating at the AA level. He dominates the AA level.
There's no rush there. Like, I don't think that this idea that, AA to AAA, especially for a pitcher, like if the numbers are really good at AA and they like the way he's going about his work, there's no reason not to throw a 23-year-old up there that's been in professional ball for several seasons. I mean, Tekoa Roby was again, when he was traded to the Cardinals in 2023, he had spent the year so far in 23 with Frisco, AA with the Texas org, and then went to Springfield. He's been in AA for 3 years. That's not a rush. That's good timing. However, with Wetherholt, let's talk about JJ Wetherholt before we get out of here. This is such a misnomer type of topic for me because not the part that Mizzou 1755 mentions about Wetherholt needing to be moved to AAA. I'm not going to like pound the table and say that he needs to, because I'm not going to sit here and act like I watch every Springfield game. I see the box scores every night, and the box scores look really, really good for Wetherholt. OPS above 900, great batting average. Like, he's doing everything you want to see. I'm okay if the Cardinals, like, if we get into July and he hasn't been moved up, I'll start to go, okay, like, I'm going to watch this a little bit more closely to wonder why they haven't. But I think at a certain point in the next few weeks, you're probably going to see that promotion. So again, if you're out in Springfield and you want to see Wetherholt, you probably should do it soon. It's my opinion there. The part I don't agree with here, though, from this comment is moving him to the outfield. He's wasting time at shortstop. If you only hear one thing from this podcast, hear this: a minor league prospect playing shortstop is the best thing for their development long term if they can hack it. Because if JJ can hack it at shortstop, it speaks to his level of athleticism to be able to move anywhere on the diamond later that he needs to. And to me, that largely includes outfield. You can put him in the outfield at times if you want to begin to ready him for a possibility that he could be asked to do that in the big leagues. But you're never wasting your time at shortstop. You're going to continue to be challenged as a shortstop more than you will at any other spot on the diamond. There's not this notion that, like, JJ's playing shortstop, so when he gets to a second base role, he's not going to know what to do. It's fine. Shortstop is harder than second base. He will be just fine. Keep him at short as long as he can stick there. It has nothing to do with Mason Wynn. Like, people would go, oh, you don't believe in Mason Wynn? That's why you're saying JJ should stay at short? No, that's not it at all. Shortstop's friggin' hard to do. So the longer he can do that and show that and grow at that role, I'm confident that when he moves elsewhere, it will be fine, especially elsewhere on the infield. But for me, he'll play outfield when it's due time. I don't necessarily think the Cardinals are looking to move JJ up to the big leagues this year either. So we got time on him. Shortstop is not a waste of time. The longer he can stick there, the more it says about him as an athlete. That's my take on that.
I don't know why you make decisions on minor league guys, especially guys that are in AA, and base them off of what you have on the major league club right now. The Cardinals are, this seems like a comment that is made specifically while Jordan Walker is on the IL and you don't feel like you have a confident option in right field. But I mean, in a perfect world, your outfield of the future is what it's been for the most part this year. Nootbaar in left, Scott the second in center, and Jordan Walker, if he is able to pan out, in right field. I don't know where exactly you expect JJ Wetherholt to fit in there. I know we're having this conversation of where it fits in right now, but I think that the point that you make about if you could play shortstop, you could basically roll anywhere. It doesn't make sense to me to start to move him to a position where there is a hole right now, this second, on the major league roster.
Because he's at AA.
When potentially not going. I mean, this is a guy that, it wouldn't surprise me if we saw him in 2026. Could he be on the opening day roster by the start or in 2026? Maybe, but I mean, it still seems far away enough to where we don't need to be having that conversation yet, in my opinion.
Yeah, and a couple things here that I don't agree with. Bill asking, like, because some of our commenters said, well, JJ will shift to second. Maybe he will. Then where do you play Donovan? And Samuel saying that Donnie will be replaced by Sajacy. I think Sajacy's a nice player. He is not the player that Brendan Donovan is, nor will he ever be, in my opinion. Like, let's pump the brakes. I think Cardinals fans have this idea of, I haven't seen a guy, and I've heard good things from him in the minors, so he's probably going to be the next. Like, Sajacy, I think when he ends up at the big league level as a mainstay, he's playing a day at third, couple days a week at second, mixing in occasionally at short. He's starting, 4 times a week, but I don't know if he's going to be like Brendan Donovan is the best player on this team. I mean, listen, if Brendan Donovan doesn't re-sign, that's a different conversation. He won't be replaced by merit because he's a really good player. So JC can be, I think, a really nice player, utility guy, super utility, as Samuel mentions there. But to the question of JJ, I agree with your perfect world outfield of, Newton left, Vic in center, Walker in right. I have questions about all three of them right now offensively, including Nootbaar, unfortunately. I think he'll end up being okay, but we'll see. Like Vic, I think is going to end up being just fine, but you could see a world in which, remember, there was a time where you couldn't dream that Dylan Carlson wasn't going to pan out, where you couldn't dream that Nolan Gorman wasn't going to pan out, where you couldn't dream that Jordan Walker wasn't going to. So, 18 months from now, we could be having vastly different conversations about how locked down the outfield is if these guys that are in there don't start hitting more. But I don't worry about it for JJ Wetherholt because they'll figure it out when the time comes. He's at AA, soon he'll be at AAA, and if he is hitting the cover off the ball in AAA to where he does merit a call-up sooner than later, okay, that's when those conversations are going to have to be expedited. But remember, third base is going to open up before too long because Arenado's not going to be here forever. If they don't trust the arm for Wetherholt at third, okay, I've seen Donovan play third. Gorman has played third. Maybe Gorman's not around. There's so much that's in flux, Ethan, that to your point, I agree. You can't make decisions of like, this is where this guy's going to play in a year and a half when he gets to the big leagues, because there's players that are here now that aren't going to be then, and we don't necessarily know the identities of who stays and who goes yet.
Yep. I mean, I don't think we could have nailed that conversation much more than we did. I mean, summed up pretty well. Stick with him at short and let him continue to develop that hit tool, which I get why people are excited about. He is the best raw hitting prospect, at least on the infield, that the Cardinals have had in a long time. The highest draft pick that they have had in a long time, until away from this year's MLB draft, about a month away, I think. So that's exciting as well. So, but there's a lot to be excited about with JJ Wetherholt. This is a guy that was supposed to be the number one pick, and somehow, because of the hamstring issues, dropped to 7. So I'm excited for him. But let's make sure that we're handling him with care and going about it the right way. And
by the way, we'll get to talking more about it as it comes up. That number 5 pick, I want to see a bat. I want to see an upside bat. That I don't want to see a guy who, well, he might be able to be a nice, utility infielder. He's not going to hit for much power. Just take a swing, and if you miss, so what? But they gotta find a superstar. This is your best chance to be able to draft one. I don't care if it's a high school kid. And I don't care if it's a shortstop. It probably should be a shortstop because that's the best athlete on the field everywhere. I want somebody with some power upside, some true hit tool upside. I hear you talk about Jack Bauer. I hear you talk about there's a lot of pitchers. You got to draft a bat, in my opinion. You can't afford to miss. Like, you can be aggressive, but the way you miss by picking at 5 is to pick a pitcher that his arm explodes. And so, like, I am a little bit fearful from that. I'm not as fearful from like, oh, here's a toolsy hitter that I think can really develop into something, but it's going to take some time. That's just my like little opinion. Holiday is not going to happen. He will be taking the first pick. I don't know why anybody ever talked about it differently. I've seen, and there's a lot of smart people who follow prospects more than me who are like, yeah, I don't know if the Cardinals would take him if he gets to 5. What are you talking about? He's going to be the first pick. If he's not, he's the second pick. I don't know. If I'm wrong, you can come back and throw eggs at me and tell me I was wrong. But there's one more thing that I want to mention, then, Ethan, I'll give you a chance for final thoughts. Bill mentioning that Bernie did a report that there's no difference between Gorman and Donovan defensively at second. Love Bernie. Don't agree at all with that take. There is a significant difference, and the Cardinals think so too. That's my stance. I haven't talked to Bernie about that. I haven't watched that video to know, what he had to say about it. Would have to dig into that. It might be metrically inclined. I like the metrics defensively. I also like watching games with my eyes, and I cannot get over the lack of range for Nolan Gorman that makes it difficult to say there's no difference between those two. Just me personally. It's not a shot at Bernie. Bernie is a legend, but that's my take.
The only comparison I've seen is the outs above average, which are equal right now for the two. That's the only thing that I took or saw.
I figured it was metrics.
Comparison. Yeah. We know Bernie's a big numbers guy. I look up to Bernie so much when it comes to the numbers, but I would agree with you. I personally think that there's much more of an upside for Brendan Donovan at second than
I can't get over the range.
I think the Cardinals would agree.
Yeah, the Cardinals had avoided playing Gorman at second base because of the range. Like, one thing that I would say too is if you really want to get smart about following baseball and following the Cardinals, and you should read what's said, read what Ollie Marmol says, read what the beat writers are putting out there so that you can understand, but then discern. And by that, I mean, they'll say something. Watch what they actually do, because their actions are going to tell you what they think. Through watching what the team does, you know how they feel about Nolan Gorman defensively compared to Brendan Donovan. Through watching what the team does, you know how they feel about Ivan Herrera as a catcher versus Pedro Paz. You can go, well, Herrera could catch and it would make the lineup so much better because you could have a great bat at catcher. Totally sure. That's a great theory. Watch what they're doing, and that tells you what they have seen behind the scenes to lean into other players at certain roles more than others. That's my. I've had a lot of soapboxes the last couple of days, Ethan, because when the Cardinals are struggling, I try to bring people back down to earth, and that's not me defending it. They've lost 6 in a row. That sucks. I think they're going to lose a 7th in a row today. We're going to see. If that's homer talk, I don't know. That's just me being real, but we're going to find out. And when we do, Ethan, we'll continue to talk things over here on STL Sports Central and the Card Central 365 show. Appreciate everything. You got any final parting thoughts here for the folks out there?
2 things. One, the natural tendency for fans is when things are going wrong is to always change something. That is not always the best way to go. It's not. Sometimes you have to roll with the same thing, and there's so many other things from a managerial standpoint that the fans don't see that you just have to let things play out sometimes. I'm not saying it doesn't get to a point where you make changes, but you can't make changes out of sheer panic and out of fear. So there are things like instilling player confidence. There's so many other things, right, that you have to keep in mind, which is why you can't make changes based off of short-term success or failure. So that's my first thing. The second thing, and it's more so a question, we've seen 6 losses in a row. Things starting to spiral a little bit, Brendan.
Yep.
Do we see Ollie Marmol get ejected in Milwaukee?
Yes.
Do we see it happen?
I don't know who the umpires are, but I think that, there's going to be a moment. Because yesterday, I thought, I
thought he was going to get booted yesterday.
Yeah, and I thought there were a couple calls, and like after the game, he said, I'm not saying they were wrong, but like they're close calls that they were wrong in my opinion.
Yeah.
So like he was a lot more diplomatic after it than I would have been. But yeah, I think he'll get fired up. He's not like the rah-rah give a speech guy, but he'll absolutely defend situations in games when he thinks it's necessary to do so. And he's got a good track record when it happens. So we'll see what ends up happening there. Appreciate you all for listening in, for watching this episode. Make sure you're staying tuned post-game for the Card Central post-game shows here on STL Sports Central. This has been powered by Gray Bar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. And, of course, the content on STL Sports Central is brought to you by DraftKings. The crown is yours. We'll talk to you next time on STL Sports Central. Peace.